Sometimes it's not what you do, but how you do it that counts. Let me give you an example. A little while ago, I read an article in a newspaper that said a guy wanted to go withdraw some money from a bank. So he decided to do it the old-fashioned way. He decided he would rob the bank. So at lunchtime, while he was at work, he made his plan, went down to the bank at lunchtime, stood in line like he wanted to, walked up to the counter and wrote a note that says, "Please give me all your money." Went back to work because he actually worked. Sat down for a few minutes, and lo and behold, a few minutes later, police came to the office and took him away. They found out he was the one who actually robbed the bank. And as he was sitting there in the cell, a policeman walked by and he asked the guy, "How did you catch me so fast?" And the guy says, "Well, you wrote, 'Give me all your money, this is a robbery,' on the back of your payroll check. And so we knew where to find you." Sometimes it's not what you do, but how you do it. So today I want to share with you some rules, 6 simple rules that will help you do things like you need to do. Now, let me be clear. I'm not here to teach you how to rob the bank. But if you use these 6 rules, you can do so much more. Rule number 1, you are expected to know all of the rules when you walk into the room. For instance, as a photographer, on my camera, when I decide to white balance, my button is down on the left-hand side. Well, when I walked into the other room, I looked on the left-hand side, the camera didn't have the button on that side. I thought, well, the camera must be broke. No, I didn't know the rule of that particular camera, so I needed to learn the camera. So always, first thing, learn the rule. Rule number 2, the minute that you learn rule number 1, remember it's going to change, and rules change fast, okay? Last year, I paid $1.25 for something. I walked in the store, got ready to buy it again. This year, I laid down and got $1.25. The guy says, "No, it's $1.50. I said, "What do you mean? I paid $1.25 last year?" I said, "Things change." Rule number 2, keep that in mind. Rule number 3, contrary to popular belief, the genius, the one who is the best, does not always get the job. The one who shoots the best basketball is not always the best person on the basketball team. Rule number 3 says it's very clear. It says to get somewhere, you got to know somebody. You don't have to know everything. You got to know somebody to get somewhere. Nobody does it alone. So remember that as you're looking for your job. And for all of those who like to say, "I got here on my own," you need to look around and see all the hands that help push you to where you are today, because you cannot open all the doors that you need to. Rule number 4 is the most important rule that you'll ever hear. And it comes in, and you see it all the time, you just don't think about it. Rule number 4 says this: if something's wrong and you need to make some adjustments or changes, or you think somebody's done you unfair, go take care of it. Go talk to somebody, okay? Go to the police or whatever you need to do to turn them in. But if after you do all of that, all that kicking and screaming, and you find out life ain't right for you, then understand what rule number 4 is. Rule number 4 says this: life ain't fair. So it doesn't always work out the way they write them in the book. So keep that in mind and plan, have an option B whenever you decide to do anything. Rule number 5 is very important also. Not as important as rule number 4, but 5 is very important too. The number 1 reason that most of the guys that are in jail today, you know why? Not because they were stupid, not because they didn't plan right, but because they talked too much. They told somebody else something just one more time. They're going to tell a friend, "Guess what I did?" Okay? And so now they find themselves in jail. So rule number 5 is a very simple rule. Okay? Filter your conversation and know that every time you open your mouth, whatever you say can and will be used against you somewhere along the way. Rule number 6 is a very hard rule. In fact, this is the hardest rule of all, because in America, for some strange reason, we're taught that if we talk about ourselves, we have a big ego. We talk about the fact that we don't know what's going on, and therefore we should not talk about ourselves. But if you ever plan to get anywhere in life, you better learn fast how to talk about yourself. Rule number 6 says, I before anybody else when you're trying to promote yourself. Okay? Remember that. 6 simple rules. Now, if you follow these rules, you'll learn how to stay out of jail too, because you're planned and maybe you won't even do the robbery. But in the meantime, keep them in mind to get ahead.